In London, as I'm sure you're aware, the most famous example of based on a different attitude to risk is Kensington High Street, led by Councillor Daniel Moylan of Kensington Chelsea. This is a very busy street where previously both sides of the street had pedestrian guardrails to prevent people from crossing the road, and the pedestrian guardrails were under some pressure because of the volume of pedestrians, of course, but the safety engineers were adamant that they should stay. Daniel Moylan overruled them, fortunately, and saw, as surprise, surprise, on the left-hand side, the pale green graph, a dramatic reduction in pedestrian injuries in the first 5 years after they were removed. Because what had happened was he'd changed the relationship between pedestrians and drivers, so that they now had some sort of relationship which they didn't have before. On the ground in the UK, this is beginning to take hold in ways which I hope will affect our environment. The town of Ashford in Kent was until recently hemmed in by a three-lane one-way racetrack, which prevented anybody, if they didn't fancy going on a rather urine-soaked underpass, getting in and out of the town, and the arrival from the station was not a very prepossessing one. We've just completed 2 years ago converting it into a two-way series of boulevards around the town that create a series of spaces, still allow the traffic to move, but each intersection is deliberately designed so as to have no reference to highway engineering geometry at all, but to reflect the north-south ring road runs through the square, and the main pedestrian access from the station is right to left. And well, we're 2 years into it, and it seems to be working okay. It's certainly changed the character and approach to the town centre. And despite howls of anguish from much of the press, the BBC included, and Jeremy Clarkson had a 2-page rant in The Sun saying this is local authority madness at its most extreme, millions will die, in his words. Well, we've had one grazed knee in 2 years compared to 1 death on average per year, the previous arrangement, and it seems to be, touch wood, working well. I was rather pleased when this bit of graffiti appeared on the wall, some genius. It kind of reminded me of Jeremy Clarkson somehow. I want to leave you with my favourite space in London, and I think it's a wonderful space because it always has extremely pretty girls sitting on the column in the middle, showing off their latest fashions and so on. This is 7 Dials in Covent Garden, and it's a space that was configured in this way 21 years ago. And remarkably, it's one of the safest major intersections in the centre of London. Most people use it as a conventional roundabout. There's no keep left sign, but you can see on the right some people don't. It doesn't matter. It gives the taxi driver something to grumble about. Very important. And I think its safety record may owe something to Camden's decision to employ this old girl to walk back and forth across it successfully. But it is, for you who don't know it, a remarkable space. I mean, I do recommend it if you ever get a chance, but this rather grainy shot, I hope this runs, just gives you a flavour of what is possible if you rely on the ability of drivers in particular to respond and read their environments. The pedestrians take hardly any notice, but something changes in the mind of the driver. And what it is intrigues me, but certainly human presence and some sort of lack of the role of the state in sorting this out, which somehow makes this one of the most efficient and effective and safe junctions in London. Do any of you remember Fawlty Towers? You're probably a little too young. Do you remember Fawlty Towers? Do you remember the Major in Fawlty Towers? Morning, Major. Papers comment. Well, he's still alive. He's 20 years older now. But sometimes he's still going. He's a bit blind and a bit forgetful sometimes. And sometimes he can't quite remember why he came out in the first place. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And that gesture, you see the gesture from the taxi driver is so, just take your time, Pops. Now, these are the same taxi drivers who are driving like idiots 150 yards away on Shaftesbury Avenue. It's something about that space creates the same qualities that we see on a campsite or a car park. And it raises to me questions about the role of the state and of risk. We are seeing on site, you probably have been fed up with the building works. We're rebuilding Exhibition Road at the moment on these principles to try and create the first really great linear boulevard street for London. Hopefully by the end of the year, the bulk of the work will be done. When the proposals for Exhibition Road were being published, the Times ran this cartoon, little pocket cartoon on the cover. I like it very much indeed. I've got it in my loo at home. Jonathan Pugh kindly sent it to me. Because it distills a change that's going on between the the notion that the state can order and resolve every potential conflict, particularly in the public realm, to a world in which communities and individuals can take responsibility and be empowered to take decisions for themselves. In other words, a move in my field from the state trying to determine behavior to one that relies on the intrinsic social skills and negotiation ability of humans. So for my world, I hope that I can leave you with a notion that, to misquote the Beatles again, we can reclaim the notion of cities as ourselves and do it ourselves in the road. So thank you. It's a very brief introduction to a big change that's going on, and I hope it may have some relevance to discussion about risk, regulation, safety, and the role of government.